The Iranians are about to get their asses kicked, and it's been coming since Jimmy Carter.
Get American forces into the region to defend Israel, to defend our deployed forces, to defend our Arab friends in the Gulf region. It's now time to think of the campaign for regime change in Iran.
Is the United States about to be sucked into yet another war in the Middle East? Because that's exactly the opposite of what I campaigned for, what President Trump campaigned for, and I don't think the people of those rallies were campaigning for a wider regional war in the Middle East.
It is certainly possible. All of this has been a giant head fake from the Trump administration. They knew the entire time. They supported them with intelligence.
In the aftermath of Israel's strike in Iran, conservatives have fractured into two groups. The hawks within the party are cheering for more death and destruction. Meanwhile, the America First crowd is also a little bit split on how they're feeling about everything that just went down. So some are openly criticizing President Donald Trump, while others are pushing for peace while trying not to say anything bad about Trump. It's a very precarious situation that they're in. So we'll break all of this down momentarily. But before we do, Cenk, I know you guys discussed this a little bit in the first hour, but is this playing out the way that you thought it would so far?
Look, I wasn't sure what Donald Trump was gonna do because he's an enormous flip-flopper. And so I think he got hoodwinked into this war. We'll talk more about it in a little bit as to how he got hoodwinked into it. But as you can tell from the war hawks, which we're gonna discuss first, Mark Levin basically saying, we've been trying to start this war since Jimmy Carter. I'm not sure that makes the case you think it makes. And then of course, John Bolton, neocon extraordinaire, immediately jumps in it and is fighting for regime change, but he's doing it for our Arab friends. So we really appreciate it, John. But let's talk about the war hawks and how they tricked Trump into this.
Yeah, John Bolton can't help but John Bolton all the time. So yeah, we're gonna start with the hawks here. We got Senator Lindsey Graham posting this on Twitter or X, sorry, right after the initial reports of the Israel strikes. He says, "Game on, pray for Israel." So both Democrats and Republicans have already slammed Lindsey Graham for referring to a potential regional war as a game. By the way, because seriously, like, what is wrong with him? He sounds like someone who is just like, he really wants to hang out with the cool kids, but it's not working. But he just says whatever he thinks will get them to like him. And to that point, that's not all that Lindsey Graham had posted. He posted more. He said, again, "I applaud President Trump for urging Iran back to the negotiating table in order to end the regime's nuclear ambitions through diplomacy, avoiding further bloodshed. However, if Iran refuses this order, I strongly believe it is in America's national security interest to go all in to help Israel finish the job. One of the benefits of this approach is that it would substantially undo the damage done to our reputation by Biden's disastrous withdrawal from Afghanistan. If diplomacy fails, going all in for Israel shows that America is back as a reliable ally and a strong force against oppression. It would strengthen our hand in all corners of the world as well as all other conflicts we face." Okay, I don't know who listens to Lindsey Graham anymore. He flip-flops so hard. He's so embarrassingly obsequious that I don't know why anyone listens to him, or I don't know who can find value in anything that he says. But moving on, Senator John Fetterman struck a similar tone last night. He said, "Our commitment to Israel must be absolute, and I fully support this attack. Keep wiping out Iranian leadership and then the nuclear personnel. We must provide whatever is necessary, military, intelligence, weaponry to fully back Israel in striking Iran." Then we have House Speaker Mike Johnson, and he referred to Israel's preemptive strike as an act of self-defense. So he says Israel is right and has a right to defend itself. All right, so I'm never gonna be on the side of doing war. I don't think I could ever be convinced that war actually solves problems. Historically, we typically see that war creates a ton of problems. And the irony with this story is that Israel was created as a result of a world war. And now Israel seems like it could be the catalyst to launch us into another world war. But the reason for that is that old grievances that the First and Second World Wars seemingly quelled were never actually resolved. the proxy war system that we've seen spring up in the Arab world following the fall of the Ottoman Empire and then the World Wars and then the Cold War was a direct result of constant foreign intervention in the region, religious and ideological differences, conflicting economic interests, and more. Then there, the issue with the oil. The geopolitical landscape of the Middle East is intentionally convoluted and it's constantly shifting. And Israel and Iran, they used to be allies. They were the non-Arabs of the Arab world, so they had some common interests, but over time, things changed a little bit there. And with those changes, the narrative becomes much more complicated. So it's like someone can say that one country did this to the other, and then someone responds, yeah, but they did this. And so there's never any end to it. It just compounds on top of everything. And more war is never going to resolve any of that. So these war hawks, to me, they're embarrassing, they're brutish, which isn't really a sign of intelligence or maturity. And they've obviously got motives that are not in the interest of the American people. Also, just another reminder that we did have an Iran nuclear deal in place, but Trump got rid of it. So, Cenk, what are your thoughts here on these war hawks?
Yeah, so first let's handle these idiots. Lindsey Graham still complaining that we got out of Afghanistan. Apparently 20 years was too little in Afghanistan. And then he says, oh, let's help Israel finish the job. You mean 20 years later? Or if apparently, according to you, not enough, 21, 25 years later. They never finish the job. They stay and stay and stay because it's part of feeding the military industrial complex. So yes, Israel obviously did this war. They attacked first. They were very happy to do it. And yes, they're gonna make us pay for it. But the defense contractors are also thrilled. So are the oil companies. Oil's prices shot through the roof. So there's a lot of contributors to politicians that are elated today as we head to another war in the Middle East. Then we go to the idiot Mike Johnson. We have to help Israel defend itself. No, brother, they attacked first. So you could say after the attack, well, even though they're warmongers and they started this war that we didn't want, the American people didn't want at all right, what are we gonna do? We don't want civilians killed in Israel. We'll help them defend themselves, but we gotta get out of there. Okay, I can understand that. But he makes it sound like the attack was a defense. It was not a defense, it was offense. Period, not close, okay? And then finally, to Fetterman. I have to remind you that Fetterman is actually not a Republican. He's theoretically a Democrat. Of all the people I've ever supported in different campaigns, I've never regretted it more than John Fetterman. To be fair to me, it was pre-stroke. I don't know if it was the stroke, I don't know if it was campaign contributions, I don't know if it was tapes, but whatever it is, I got no interest in this warmonger, and I hope he's defeated in a humiliating fashion in the next Democratic primary in Pennsylvania. And so, look, I don't think we're gonna have another world war here. I will, I don't know, can't promise you anything, I hope not. I'm not sure what Iran's capabilities are. We've had a couple of missiles land in Tel Aviv, but we got America, Israel, Jordan, all knocking down Iranian missiles. So, like, if this war keeps going, Iran will be devastated, yes. I don't know how much Israel will be hurt. I don't know if anyone else will be drawn in. But Trump is a legendary flip-flopper. A little bit later in the show, we're gonna talk about some MAGA guys who are pushing him to get out of there. And if he does, and he goes, well, Israel, now you're on your own, what happens then? And that is a super interesting situation. Now, if you say, oh, there's no way Trump will do that, you sure there's no way that Trump will do anything? I think it's possible that he could do anything in the world. I have no idea what he's gonna do next. Michael.
Yeah, I mean, I first of all, it's amazing to me that it always goes back, not amazing, but it's just fun to see that it always goes back to everything that happened today was because of our withdrawal from Afghanistan. So we have we have to undo the damage that happened there. This is all about Joe Biden, everything that happened today. I love when they say that because of course it's ridiculous. And to Yaz's point, I mean, Lindsey Graham's all over the place. He's hypocritical, he doesn't know who he supports. As much as I agree with you on John Fetterman, Cenk, He's been consistent on a lot of this stuff. Lindsey Graham just looks at what way the wind is blowing. When it's blowing toward Donald Trump, he wants to get in that wind. John Fetterman is disturbingly consistent on this, but at least I appreciate the consistency there. The other thing is that Israel, in this case, has lost so much sympathy and credibility on this score. If this happened without Gaza, we might be saying, I get it. I get it. I understand this. The consultations with other countries would have been nice. It was planned well, but they've lost everything. Netanyahu has lost everything in the bigger world. So to do this is both provocative. It is certainly going to draw other countries into this conversation that didn't need to be drawn into it, especially this one. And like you were saying, I think it was you, Cenk, at the beginning here. This is not what MAGA people wanted. This is not what the people who voted for Donald Trump wanted. As a matter of fact, everyone I spoke to in lines to a person would say to me that I want Donald Trump because I'm tired of the war everywhere. They would blame Biden for Russia attacking Ukraine. They would blame Biden for Netanyahu attacking Gaza in disproportionate retaliation. Then they would say, well, Trump is going to end these wars, as he said, in a couple of days after getting into office. Well, the wars have continued, and now today they've gotten worse. Trump is no closer to ending these wars.
Guys, as far as a wider war is concerned, if this keeps going back and forth, the country that I'm most concerned about is the one we talk about least. It's right next to Israel, Jordan. Jordan is out, relatively speaking, allies with Israel, but not relatively, like really pretty strong allies with Israel, and they're helping to knock down Iranian missiles. But the people of Jordan hate Israel. So the leadership obviously has the alliance. I understand why they have that alliance. But if this war continues and the Jordanian government continues to aid Israel as it attacks another Middle Eastern country, how long will Jordan's government remain stable? And that have been historically the most stable government in the Middle East, right? At least among the Arab countries. And so if that stability gets endangered, then we are talking about, now we got some sort of regional conflict that might start to devolve even worse than what we have here. So we got to really look out for that.
Also, the Palestinians hate Jordan because Jordan on every turn has refused to allow them to live in Jordan and to take them in as refugees. And that again, the flames burn pretty hard over that issue as well.
Yeah, and the Jordanian people are certainly mixed on it in some ways, but have sympathy for the Palestinians, and they see what Israel's done, etc. Last thing is, we've got to note that America First lost today. We don't know if the loss is final, right? But the people who said, hey, let's do America first, let's not do any more wars, were dealt a very severe blow today. So it's be interesting to see what their reaction is going forward. The neocons won, the war hawks won, and we've started another war in the Middle East. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.